Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good night, all of those things, depending on what time you're listening to this. So, this is my another one of my foundational essays for my Substack section, Kuatu. And this is the video version. I'm not going to be reading you the essay, but just delivering a video version. And so, basically, what I wanted to talk about in this video is integral theory, and I'm going to use Martha Hegel in order to make my case, as well as the anime Neon Genesis Evangelion. And basically, what I'm going to be doing is using the two to argue that the international left needs integral theory. That integral theory provides a way to sort of make maps of human knowledge and human understanding, particularly the Ako model. Now, I can get into this another time, but basically, my own view is that integral theory needs to be divorced from Ken Wilber because his politics are quite frankly rubbish, and wedded to Jacques Derrida, Martha Jacques Derrida. And in particular, I think the most useful part of integral theory is the Ako model. The other stuff, such as the Great Chain of Beings, whatever. But the Ako model is absolutely powerful. And when paired with Martha Jacques Derrida's deconstruction, then we have something incredibly powerful. That is my own personal view, but I can get into that another time. This video is for the purposes of arguing that we need integral theory, that integral theory provides a way that we can navigate the great cultures and religions of the world in order to be able to recruit workers, tenants, and debtors of all traditions, religions, and so on and so forth, for them to come as they are, truly as they are, and to draw in the international left in our shared struggle against capital. So, let us begin. Number one, the Hegelian problem, a body torn into organs without circulation. So, at the core of Martha Georg Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel's philosophy is attention, and that is this quote, and it comes from his book Phenomenology of Spirit. The truth is the whole. End of quote. Now, before we go any further, I personally am not a fan of phenomenology of spirit, and know it's the thing that always gets touted and people always talk about it, but rather politics of right is more so where I'm at, if that makes sense. Phenomenology of spirit, I would argue, is the little brother to politics of right. That what you need, especially as a leftist, is politics of right, and then after that, phenomenology of spirit can sort of help refine and sort of accent, if you will, the text that is politics of right. But phenomenology of spirit, in and of itself, I don't consider to be that impressive, if I'm honest with you. So, anyway, moving on. But this whole is not a lifeless skeleton laid out in advance. It is a living body that must grow its own bones, pump its own blood, and stitch its own tissues together. It emerges only through strain, tearing, healing. So, today's international left resembles a body whose organs have been separated and laid out on different tables. Workers' movements like muscles without nerves, tenants' movements like lungs without oxygen, debtors' movements like kidneys filtering poison with no bloodstream, cultural and religious identities like tongues speaking without a shared mouth. Each is alive with its own pulse, so to speak. Each carries blood, but the circulation is broken. No shared artery binds them. Martha Hegel would say this is a body full of organs, but without a unifying metabolism, a contradiction that has not yet learned how to breathe as one organism. So, point number two, integral theory. So, why integral theory fits a Hegelian physiology. Integral theory attempts to build not just a skeleton but a circulatory system. So it sort of combines these different insights. Material conditions, the muscles and bones, so to speak. Culture, the tongue and voice. Psychology, the nervous system. Institutions, the organs that regulate and sustain life. This mirrors Martin Hegel's dialectic, which does not amputate but transforms. Quote, to sublate, ellipses, because I can't be bothered sharing the entire quote, means at once to preserve and to cause to cease. End of quote. Martin Hegel from his work Science of Logic, for those of you that are familiar. So, like digestion, food is destroyed but also absorbed into blood. The left often suffers from metabolic failure. Some reduce everything to bone class, leaving no blood or breath. Others fixate on the tongue identity, forgetting the stomach that feeds it. Others speak moral words without teeth, unable to bite into structure. An integral framework acts like a living anatomy, ensuring that bone, blood, nerve, and organ all function together without collapsing into one indistinct mass. Number 3, Evangelion is a body in crisis. So, Neon Genesis Evangelion gives us a body horror version of this problem. AT fields, so skin as barrier. Each person's AT field is like skin, stretched too tight. It protects, but it isolates. Martin Hegel once said, quote, self-consciousness achieves its satisfaction only in another self-consciousness, end of quote. So Martin Hegel there is talking about the need for mutual recognition. We can get into that another time. But here, everybody is sealed. No touch, no shared breath, no mingling of blood. Workers, tenants, and debtors across the world exist like bodies separated by impenetrable skin. Different languages, different tongues, different faiths, different internal organs of meaning, and different histories, which means different scars in the flesh, so to speak. The result is no shared circulation. B. Instrumentality dissolving into undifferentiated flesh. The Human Instrumentality Project, this is part of the anime, promises unity, but it is the unity of a body melted into formless tissue. No bones, no organs, no differentiation, just a single, undulating mass. This is what Hegel would call a bad universal. Unity without structure, blood without vessels, flesh without skeleton. So it mirrors certain political temptations. We are all just workers, reducing everything to one bone. Or we are all the same morally, dissolving all structure into mush. This is not a living body, it is a biological collapse. And we often hear this, particularly in leftist circles, instead of acknowledging the real and important differences between us and uniting regardless. There is this sort of push for uniformity, and it's disgusting when you think about it. So, Shinji's choice, this is C, to live as a body among bodies. So Shinji Ikari faces a visceral dilemma: remain a separate aching body or dissolve into a painless, indistinct organism. His realization gestures toward a Hegelian truth. To live is to remain separate and connected, to touch without dissolving, to speak with a tongue that is one's own, yet understood by others. This is the challenge of coalition, not fusing into one indistinguishable flesh, not retreating into isolated skin, but forming a living organism of many organs. Number 4, the coalition as a living anatomy. We can restate the dialectic as a bodily process. So, tissa, thesis, economic universals, one skeleton, all are workers. Okay, that's one example. Antissa, or antithesis, cultural particularism, many organs, different tongues, different blood chemistries. Required synthesis or synthesis, a living body, one circulation, many organs, distinct tissues working in coordination. Hegel calls this the concrete universal. The universal is not something apart, I'm quoting him, but contains the particular within itself, end of quote. So, like a body, the heart does not raise the lungs, the kidneys do not become the tongue, yet all are bound by one bloodstream. An integral approach provides the anatomical map. It shows how different organs, religious, cultural, class, can coexist without being amputated or dissolved. Number 5, why the international left needs a circulatory system. So, without this sort of integral dialectical anatomy, the international left becomes a pile of disconnected organs, a mouth arguing with a stomach, a brain issuing commands to limbs it cannot feel. With it, the international left can become a living organism, translating across tongues, circulating resources like blood, coordinating action like a nervous system. It allows Islamic traditions to speak through one artery, Christian liberation theology through another, indigenous land relations as deep connective tissue, secular labor movements as muscle and bone, not merged, not erased, but metabolized into a shared life. In Evangelion terms, not sealed skin, AT fields, not dissolved flesh, instrumentality, but imperfect, risky life. So, the final Hegelian insight, the body learns through pain. Martha Hegel once said, quote, the spirit is this power only by looking the negative in the face and dwelling with it, end of quote. Pain is not external to the body. It is how the body learns where it is wounded. The divisions between workers, tenants, debtors, cultures, and religions are not infections to cut out. They are signals. Where circulation is blocked, where nerves are not connecting, where the body has yet to form itself. Integral theory in this Hegelian sense is not an abstract idea, it is the anatomy of a future body, the practice of building circulation, the art of holding difference without the flesh apart. A true universal is not a slogan, it is a body that has learned how to live. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.